Good morning. My name is Steve Gaskins with Fine Woodworking of South Carolina. I've had my YouTube channel for about a year, and during that time, I've had a few people ask if I would do a shop tour. So that's what this video is about, my shop tour 2025. Before I start with my shop tour, let me tell you some of the technical things. My shop, which is adjacent to my house, I'm pulling 100 amp service from my home. All of my machines that are 220, which are most of them, they have a dedicated 220 circuit, and each machine that has 220 has dedicated dust collection with its own blast gate. It's 48 feet in length and 30 feet wide. It has 10-foot ceilings at the wall. I have Wi-Fi in my shop. I have climate controlled. So I will start my shop tour here at my walk-through door, and I will go around and talk about each station. Well, let's start at the walk-through door. It's a standard 36-inch door. It's a steel insulated door, and it's cased in southern yellow pine, and that will be somewhat of a theme in my shop. Coming from the walk-through door is my corner bench. It's roughly 6 foot wide and 8 foot long this way. It has drawers on one side with a wide drawer in the bottom. All of that has either supplies or drawings. A lot of drawings I've started over the years that I will probably never ever build, but I like design work, and I have a lot of my purchased and my own drawings down there. Like I said, my shop has Wi-Fi, so I have an Apple HomePod. I enjoy music, and I love to listen to music as I work. All of my trim work is cased in southern yellow pine, and all of the windows and the doors have overlapping, rising dovetails. You know, everyone does their shop differently. The way I've designed my shop, if I'm going to spend time out here, and I love spending time out here, then I want it to be pleasing to me. So I've gone through the extra time to adding a lot of detail work to my shop. Okay, going around from my corner bench is my roll-up door. It's 10 foot wide, 10 foot high, and it has insulated panels. This door is what I use to bring in all my large, heavy equipment. It rarely gets used these days. I use my walk-through door. From the roll-up door is my hollow chisel mortiser. In the beginning, I told you there were several themes of my shop tour, and this starts one of them. I brought this used. Actually, I brought it third hand. But it's a great mortiser, and I was surprised to find all the little small attachments that came with it originally still there. I like doing mortise and tenon joinery in my furniture pieces. I use the domino too, but this certainly has its place in my shop. It has quick action. I really like working with it. If you don't know what a hollow chisel mortiser is, then let me know in the comments, and I will do a short video explaining the functions of this. If you're going to build furniture, the hollow chisel mortiser is your friend. Okay, continuing around from the hollow chisel mortiser to my miter station, I have 2 tables. They're about 32 inches in width, and each one is 8 feet on each side. I have a platform for my miter saw that drops down to make sure that the bed of the saw and the top of the tables are in line. A real good saw I really like it. The dust collection is talked about a lot. It's not as good as it needs to be. Probably not as good as it can be. If I were to go from a 27 millimeter to a 36 suction hose, it probably would be better. Above it is a homemade filtration system that I converted from a Harbor Freight dust collector. What I really want to show you are the bottom doors and drawers. These came from my grandfather's home he built in the late 50s or early 60s. It was remodeled maybe 20 years ago. And my brother who remodeled the home and my father, they kept the doors. Now there wasn't any drawers. I took the doors and made drawers out of them. They're 90 pine plywood, and the plywood quality is so good that I actually always thought all my life that it was from 90 pine lumber. Now when I got them, they had been stored outside but covered for about 10 years, and they were all to pieces, to the point where I was trying to restore them because they were my grandfather's, and I wanted a part of what he did in my shop. I do have a few of his small tools, but I wanted his cabinet doors in my shop. It took a lot of work, a lot of iterations of gluing, putting everything back together, re-gluing, pressing everything back together. But they turned out good, and I'm happy that I did take the time, and it really took some time. I have a trash can for offcuts that I keep here underneath. Up here is where I store my stop block system. I have thought about putting a permanent fence down my table and connecting a stop block to it, but that would divide my table and it wouldn't have the clean look that it has today. But I do have this. I designed it after a Meyer fence on a table saw. I know you're familiar with that. So let me show you how it works. This is a cam that I designed. It has leather at the cam to prevent marring. This will work as a stop block. This also works as an extension of my stop block. And with this screw, I can make fine adjustments. I just clamp it to my rail system, and it works really well. It can also be used with my miter saw. So for shorter pieces, it works really well. I really like that system. It has really added value to my miter saw. So what would I like to do differently at my miter saw station? Well, on both sides, I have open wall, 10 foot tall, and I would like to build cabinets on each side of this air filtration system. So I think the cabinets would be a good addition to my miter saw station. From my miter saw station, I have a wall that I have a lot of my jigs stored. 10-inch jig for the table saw, another jig, pressure frame, miter gauge, a jet drill press. It was my father's drill press, something that I do not need, but I absolutely love. Now, we don't have much of a winter here in South Carolina, but when we do, on cold days, I love using this wood-burning heater. This box on top is a heat exchanger. It has stainless steel tubes that lay down horizontally. As the flue gas rises over the tubes, the heating tubes, there's a blower in back that will blow hot air into the shop. So one of the things I love most about my shop is the air conditioning. Now this is a mini split system. I have 3 filters on the top. Also, I got that idea from Jay Mate, but Jay's system went out lengthwise. So I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to take up wall space. So I doubled up my filters, and what it did, it gave me 400% more than the standard opening for the intake air. So I feel like that's more than enough surface area to accommodate the intake air. Now on my panel, you can attach leads to this circuit, and it pulls the same power whether it's running with the filter system or without. So I'm not putting any more load on my AC. Okay, if there's one area in my shop that I really don't like the way I have it set up, it's my lumber storage. And throughout the years, I have had several different lumber storage systems. I've had the horizontal, I've had vertical, and now I have a different type of vertical system. Here is just some sheet goods and a few other things. I have some walnut and walnut stored back here. But look at this slab. It's a book matched, and this is going to be a dinette table for me. I don't work with epoxy, not like that, but I want to build an epoxy table. I'm really looking forward to that build. If you would like to see that, let me know in the comments. Adjacent to my lumber rack is my Ingersoll Rand air compressor. It's 5 horsepower, 220 volt, single phase. Like other things in my shop, I brought this used. There was a woodworking shop in Charleston that was closing down, and I called and checked on the air compressor. I was working a lot of hours at the time and really didn't have time to take off to even look at it, but I wanted to call and check on it. He had it listed for $1,150. And I said, you know, I'm working too much, it's gonna be hard to get off right now. I think I'm gonna just pass. So I told him no. Within 2 minutes, he called me back. He said, how about 850? Now at the time, it was somewhere around 1900, 2000 for this compressor. He was the original owner. It looks brand new even today. So that's how I came about with this compressor. It provides the air for whatever I need in the shop as far as general use, but it also provides the air for my wide belt sander. My small bandsaw is actually a bandsaw that was purchased when I was somewhere around 14 years old. My mom brought this bandsaw for my dad for his woodworking shop, and it stayed in his shop for a lot of years. What I want to do with it is there's a scrolling type feature that you can add to small bandsaws like this. It's something that Carter makes. If you know something about the Carter product, they can be retrofitted on a small bandsaw such as this one. Leave me a comment in the description so I can find out a little more about it. But I'm looking forward to getting that function on this bandsaw so I can put this bandsaw back in service. That's the one thing that my dad asked. He wanted me to get it running. So I'm going to get it running. And right beside my small bandsaw is my Powermatic shaper. I bought this used at an auction in Georgia many years ago. It's an older one, but it's a good one. It's a Powermatic 26, back when it was made in Tennessee. All of my machines have dedicated in-place dust collection with blast gates on all of them. And I'll show you more of that as we go along. I don't use this often, so what would I do differently? Well, I'm thinking about putting my shaper on a mobile base and putting it close to my router table, and I can use it in conjunction with my router table. Okay, while I have you in this corner, I want to show you this cabinet. I use it for my finishing cabinet. I have a lot of different finishes up there. Not real organized right now, but that's where it's at. Down below I have my spray equipment. I have a Fuji spray gun that I keep down there, and it works really well when I need it. I do a lot of hand finishes, so I don't use that all the time, but when I need it, I have it. This cabinet was built maybe around 74, 73. I don't know for sure. It was built by my dad for our church. And the whole function of this cabinet, it contained a chime system for our church. So at a certain time, the chimes would ring, and it would all be driven by the equipment in this desk, believe it or not. But the church was going to move this out from where it was at. It was no longer used. Someone contacted me, said, hey, you want this cabinet that your dad built many years ago? I wasn't even aware of it anymore. It had been so many years. So I went and looked at it, and we moved it here. But I wanted to have it here in my shop because it's just one other thing that my dad built. Well, I was so kinda in this corner, we actually have come out some now. I want to show you my two bandsaws. This one here is a Grizzly 21-inch 531 machine, a heavy-duty bandsaw, 5 horsepower, 220 obviously. I've got a 1.25 inch blade on it. Great for resawing. 13 years ago, I resawed the laminations for a cradle that I built for my grandson. This is my Laguna 18-inch BX. This is a good bandsaw. It's my general use bandsaw. So I have a large one. I'm hoping to have a scrolling one set up. I talked with you about that. And this is my general use bandsaw. Most of the things that I cut on this bandsaw with either a 3/8, 1/2 inch, or 1/4 inch blade. This is a 3 horsepower, 220 volts. Really good bandsaw. I really like it. A little more difficult to change the blade on the Laguna than what it is to change it on the Grizzly. The Grizzly, the table stays in place. The Laguna, I had to take the table off of the Laguna to change the blade. Maybe you know a better way. If so, I would love to hear how you change the blade on your 18BX without taking the table off. My hands won't fit underneath there to adjust the lower guides. No big deal, really. Take the table off and put it back on. But it is a little heavy, the cast iron table. If you know a better way, I would love to hear what you do in your shop. Okay, in the center of my shop, from side to side, I have my Grizzly dust collector, 220 volt, 5 horsepower, and I have it elevated. That way the trunk line comes straight into the collector, and you don't have the friction loss of the fittings. Took some work to get it up that high, but it works really well. Have a large container here to collect the chip. A filter system with the filter bags. It works off of a remote, regardless of where I'm at in the shop. As long as I have line of sight, my remote will work. So next to my dust collector is my clamp storage. Now through the years I've tried different storage systems, but I like this one best. I'm right at my layout table. I'll show you that in a minute. I'm right at my bench. I'll show you that too. And I really like the way it's set up. I have a lot of clamps here in one area, and it doesn't take up a whole lot of area. Right here is my latest video. If you haven't seen that, after this video, look at this video. It's a shop-made apron rack displaying my shop aprons. I went around a long time trying different type aprons before I selected this one. I have my logo embroidered to the front, and I have them on my website if you want to help support our channel. In front of my lathe is my 4x8 layout table. It has a 3/4 inch MDF top that rests on a 3/4 inch plywood top. The reason for that is through time you will be able to change out the MDF top without any major issues. It has 2 vices, has a side vise, and over here it has an end vise. I like so many other things that I've talked about in my shop. I didn't build this, and I didn't buy it really. When I purchased the air compressor that I spoke of earlier, the guy that had the air compressor had this table. This was his workbench. And he told me, he said, either you got to take it or I got to cut it up. Well, it was too nice to cut up. So it's been in my shop for a lot of years. But it's at a good location. I can lay out different parts. I can be working on design. And my bench is literally right here. So it's close to the bandsaws. It's right at my table saw. It's right at my clamp rack. And I will show you an overview to give you a better idea of how things look and how things are set up. Across from my layout table is my router table. Now this is the Equa system. It's called the Works. It has a 3 1/4 horsepower router. It has a very nice sliding system that it can adjust to 1/1000th of an inch in either direction. It comes with some jigs and fixtures. Then the frame, the top, the router, the fence system, and the fixtures came as one unit when you purchased the Works. Now the draw system and the red pulls is an inspiration from Guy's Wood Shop. Now Amazon worked in the system because it had to have the means to work around all of the dust collection. Real good system, real easy to move. It's on a mobile base, moves really easy. And it sets back down to where you can do work on it when you have it in position. I have the different plates that go in the insert, assortment of router bits, and the list goes on. It's a really nice system, and it has served me well throughout the years. Okay, around from my clamp rack is a door that I installed after the building was already constructed. I went back after the fact and added this door and 4 windows. Now something interesting about this door is 3 inches thick, 8 foot tall, 45 inches wide, and it weighs over 300 pounds. It has a walnut pole that I added to it. And each one of these turn knobs, they attach to a 2 inch by 3/8 of an inch thick steel plate. So I can loosen, slide it, and slide it back. But it goes through a 6x6 and has a lock on this side. The upper and the lower goes through the same 6x6, but it doesn't protrude to the other side. So it's real secure. And back before I had air conditioning in my shop, I would open this door and open my walk-through door, and that's how I would cool my shop. It had a fan at the walk-through door, and it just had a nice breeze that it would pull through. Today, how I use this is a couple times a year, when the humidity is down, I will open this door and open my walk-through door, use the same fan, and I would use like a leaf blower and just blow the dust, just to clean the shop out a few times a year. Around for the shop door is where I stored some of my sanding block, standoffs, fast tool tracks, and my 1942 Oliver 25C woodworking lathe. It's 2,000 pounds, 220, 3-phase. It is 11 feet in length. And here I have a lot of different accessories that come with it. Unfortunately, I don't have it running at this point. I need to take time and get to the bottom of the issue. One thing that's interesting about this lathe, I brought it maybe 12 years ago and picked it up maybe 10 years ago. But I brought it from a furniture maker in Charleston, South Carolina, that had, maybe still has, a shop at the Charleston Naval Shipyard, the old shipyard. And he brought it from the shipyard when the shipyard closed down during the Clinton days. When I purchased it, he told me it was running when he last ran it. It had been years since he ran it. So I just need to get it going again, and I may need to get some electrical help on that. Okay, down from my lathe is my T7 Tormy. It's a slow-speed wet grinder that works really well with edge tools such as chisels and hand plane irons. I keep it covered up most of the time when it's not in use to make sure I don't have any dust or debris that gets on it. In these drawers over here, I have my sharpening stones. I sharpen up to 16,000. I have a 1,000, 4,000, 8,000, and 16,000 stone. And this works real well for keeping my edge tools sharp. Now what I like about it, and you will see this in a minute, at my main bench to here, it's just a few steps. So as I'm working at my bench, I can step over here and touch up my chisels or my plane, whatever I'm working with. From the sharpening station, this is my Northfield 16-inch 4-blade cutter joiner. I brought this in North Carolina maybe about 5 years ago at auction. What's interesting about this is I'm the third owner. It looks like it has never been used. I mean, honestly, all the original paint is in place. I contacted Northfield, and they told me the only thing that has ever been purchased was a spring on the cutter guard. And they were asking me questions about it. If it had a grinder, I said, yes, it has a grinder. They said, well, it was shipped with a grinder to the original owner, but most times the grinder's not there when you buy it second or third hand. I said, well, not only is the grinder there, but all the dial indicators and the small fixtures and jigs that go with the grindings is there too, which tells you that it has never really been used a whole lot. I spoke with my dad throughout the shop tour. My dad went with me to pick this up, and I put up a picture of him in that rental truck that we had to pick this up. I saw this joiner come up for sale on the auction, and I knew I couldn't buy it. It was going to be too expensive, and to be honest with you, in my shop, did I really even need it? I had a really nice 8-inch helical cutter at the time, but I did want something a little wider to go with my planer. So I was getting ready to leave to go pick up my grandchildren. And I told my wife, I said, listen, I bid it on this joiner online. I'm not going to get it. I know that. But just keep an eye on it. Time as I got to the schoolhouse, my wife called me. She said, you've been outbidded. I said, well, yeah, I know that. No big deal. She said, well, would you like me to bid on it for you? I said, yeah, you can do that. You can bid a couple of times. So when I got back from the school, my wife told me, she said, I think you won that machine. I said, that's not possible. I know I didn't win that joiner. She said, well, I think you did. So I went and checked my email. Sure enough, I had won the joiner. She bid it 12 times against somebody that was bidding. It was only that person and her, and she was going neck to neck with them. They bid, she would bid. She would bid, that person would bid. And I'm glad he or she finally gave up, because I'm not sure if my wife would have. But long story short, she was able to win this joiner for $6,000. Now I talked with Northfield, and they told me that it's a $28,000 joiner. So I paid roughly $6,000 for it and had to go get it. You know, it's honestly practically brand new. Very good joiner. Now it is 3-phase, but I have a 3-phase converter that has a motor on the floor, and it runs this. Start the phase converter first, let it run maybe 3 to 5 minutes, and then start the joiner. No problems running this joiner. when I get my lathe running, it too will run off the same phase converter. Now, above the joiner is a lot of my templates, things that I've had throughout the years, not all of them. I have some of them over there, like I talked about earlier. I have some more in a different location. I need to extend my rack and get a little better organized up there. But anything that I need that I've been working with lately kind of goes up there on the wall. So I like that look, and I definitely love this joiner that my wife won in the auction. Okay, adjacent to my joiner, I can reach out and touch it. It's my 20-inch helical head planer. It's a Grizzly, 5 horsepower, 220, single phase. And like several things in my shop, I brought this used. It has its own dedicated dust collection with the slide gates. It's just a really nice planer. Again, I've had it for a lot of years, and it served me well. This is the heart of my woodworking shop. My saw stop, table saw, and my bench. I'll bring you around in a minute to see the bench. My saw stop is an industrial saw stop. It's 220 volt, 5 horsepower. It has the floating overarm dust collection system. It's a great saw. Let me tell you how great it is. Prior to this one, I had a Delta Unisaw, 52-inch, 5 horsepower industrial saw. Great saw. Nothing wrong with it, but it didn't have technology. About 6 to 7 years ago, I just felt like it was time to get a saw with technology in the event that there was ever an accident. Well, I've been operating a table saw for 51 years. 3 weeks ago, I activated the brake cartridge on this saw. I was cutting tenons with my crosscut sled. The blade is real low on the sled. It was only 3/16 of an inch high above the sled. For some reason, my hand came in contact as I reached for another workpiece. There was a loud pop. At first, I didn't know what had happened, and then it occurred to me that I activated the brake. I had to look for the nick on my hand. It wasn't bleeding. I knew what was going on. After the pop, I realized I had contacted the blade. After 51 years. I reached out to Saw Stop, filled out a form, sent them the brake cartridge. They did some tests on the brake cartridge, sent me an email saying, yes, it contacted your hand, and yes, we're going to send you a replacement cartridge free of charge. Honestly, I can't ask for any better than that. I have a cartridge that didn't cost me anything. I have a hand that I can still use. Kind of ironically, I was building a rail system to go in our home. We have a 1-year-old grandson. So I was building the rail system to keep him safe. And in the background, my saw stop was working to keep me safe. And when you hear it like that, and when it sits in, then it really makes a difference on what technology can do and how far it's come. So at my table saw, I have my dust collector with a remote and my air filtration with a remote. Like I said earlier, I run that a lot. Nice table saw, can't say anything bad about it. It's built as good or honestly better than the previous saw that I had. Heavy duty trunnions, really, really impressed with this saw. On the back side of my table saw is the outfeed table that doubles as my bench. I have an invoice a lathe vise. I keep a lot of my stair stuff down here as far as precision measuring. Some of my planes, some of them further down, also with my saws, have my hold fast. They go up in here. Real convenient. A brush, clean things off. When I'm working here, the table saw is there. One bandsaw is there. The other bandsaw is there. My 4x layout table with an additional vise is there. Router table right there. So it's real convenient. Again, I have the anti-fatigue pads on the floor. This is the length of my table saw with the 52-inch table, and it has served me well for a lot of years. Right above my bench is my main air filtration system. It's a compressor system. It has several different speeds. It works really well. I use it a lot in my shop. The airborne dust, that's bad stuff, and I try to run this whenever I'm running any power tool. And that's the good thing about hand tools. You don't need dust collection, you don't need air filtration for the most part. Power tools are great to have their place, obviously, in my shop, but I love hand tools also. This is my wide belt sander. It's a Grizzly G0571, 10 horsepower, 220, single phase. It has its own dust collection with the blast gates, and I can dial it in to increments of 1/1000th of an inch, so it can get really accurate. It's a very powerful sander, and at one time I did a lot of cutting boards, engraving, and this is a workhorse for engraving cutting boards. As far as horsepower, it's the largest piece of equipment I have in my shop. Like most things in my shop, I brought used. It's a 2006 model, and it's just been a good machine for me. Really good sander, and if you're into production work, this is your friend. Right on the outfeed side of my wide belt sander is my edge sander. Again, it's a Grizzly. It's 5 horsepower, 220, single phase, really heavy duty sander. You can open the end and use the sanding contour of the end drum to sand any radius that you have. It has a split dust collection system, one for each end, dedicated blast gate. And I will show you the dust collection system next. But this has been a good sander for me. So this is my overall dust collection system. Like I said, it goes to all the tools around my shop. It goes back to the central location of my dust collection in the back. And it has incredible velocities. But this wraps up my 2025 shop tour. I'm Steve Gaskins with Fine Woodworking in South Carolina. We love and appreciate you guys. God bless.